Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Sports Show right here on Smash FM here on a Wednesday here in Melbourne. Of course, let's go across to our friends out in the US, and of course, we're going to the east coast of the States, and of course, we're going to have a chat with the Fordham women's basketball team. Of course, we've got a very special guest on the show. Of course, her name is Matilda Flood. She joins us right now from the US. Thanks, Matilda, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. Well, tell us, how's it been like the last couple of months heading up to the season coming up?
It's been a bit crazy. COVID is a really big thing over here, unlike Australia. It's really bad over here. There's masks 24/7, no spectators at games. Our games are getting cancelled left, right, and centre because our opponents are getting COVID. There's been the president election, which was very different to what we had at home. The time difference back to Australia is hard. I haven't seen my family in 4 months so far, and I probably won't see them in another 8. But it's actually been insane. I love living over here. I love my team. I'm living in New York City, which is absolutely insane. I go to the city all the time. The train station's just outside my school, and it's just been an amazing experience so far. I'm loving it.
Now, we'll go to the basketball side of things first. Now, you mentioned that I guess it's been a pretty difficult year in regards to, you have to wear a mask at training and through the facilities, and obviously games been cancelled left, right, and centre. I guess how difficult has that been? I guess at least hoping like counting down those days to when you actually have to play your conference play.
Yeah, well, conference play is really soon. It's 21st of December is our first conference game against Davison. We have already had our first non-conference game, Stony Brook. That was really cool. We got the win for that one. We were supposed to have a game tomorrow against Manhattan, but that was cancelled. And we do have a game scheduled for this Saturday against Quinnipiac. So fingers crossed that that all goes through. But getting our first game through was really nice. To play against an opponent that we haven't, because at practice for the last couple of months, it's just been against our coaches and our scout. And that's all well and good, but it's they know our plays, they know how to shut us down. So it's really good to play people that it's fresh and they don't know how to shut us down. So it was actually really fun to play. It was tough. It was a close game and we definitely didn't play our best, but it's good to get a couple practice games before conference in a couple weeks.
You mentioned that you beat Stony Brook in the first game, but I guess, and obviously you were meant to play tomorrow. I guess how has the team adapted to games being cancelled? I'm assuming sometimes that are in the last minute or days before. I guess how has the team been adapting to that?
It's been a bit tough because, of course, with games, we have to prep a lot. We have to watch a heap of film on them. We have to know their personnel. We have to, get ready, get our plays down pat, learn if they're going to zone us, if they're going to press us, how to break all their plays apart. So it's a bit tough, doing all of that and then finding out that it was all a waste of time and that we have to restart with a new team. We found out that Manhattan was cancelled the day after we played Stony Brook. So it was annoying because practice right now has just been usual practice. It just feels like it's preseason again. It feels like we're just back at the start. Normally this is supposed to be we play next day. We're already prepping for the next day and getting ready. But now it's just the same practice, same drills. We have nothing to prep for because we don't know if we're playing the next team or not. So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So it's just been a bit of a cycle. It's the same. It's just stuck in the same day. So hopefully the next couple of games won't get cancelled because it gets really fun when you get to do scout and get to know their personnel and watch film. And it breaks up the day a bit more rather than just having a straight 3-hour practice with no scout.
Now let's talk a bit about your conference play. First game against Davidson. Of course, in about almost 3 weeks now. I guess how good is that to at least count down to that game? And especially, there's 3 Australians on that team.
Yeah, there is. And they're really cool Australians too. I've played against all 3 of them. And I've been watching their games at home too. They're a really good team, really strong shooters. And the Australians they had are really awesome. So it's definitely going to be a tough game. Last year, I know the Davison and Fordham game was a really tough one. We beat them on a buzzer with a game-winning shot in the last couple of seconds. So I think they'll be ready to fire back at us after that because that was definitely a tough loss for them at our home. So we're now at their court. in their home. So it's going to be a really tough game and they're really tough side. So yeah, we're all very excited for that, but also it's going to be a really tough game. So yeah, we're getting ready for it. We're starting prepping now.
Now, you mentioned about those three players who will have a chance to interview a bit later on in the week, Adelaide, Susie, and also Cassidy in that team. I guess you mentioned it, you played against all three of them, of course, when you were playing back here in Australia. I guess, how did you fare against those three?
Well, they're all really good sides. They're all different states as well, so I never played with them together. Rosie is an awesome guard. Also, it's really hard to guard, really tough. Adelaide is really tall. She was always a strong big. We used to always double team them, and they were always the best in their team. So it's going to be a bit different with them all three together because normally we don't have to face them all at the same time because they're all really tough. So back at home in Australia, it was probably nicer that we didn't, when we played them, it was only one of the three every time. But now that all three are stacked up together, it's definitely going to be a bit tougher, but I can't wait.
Now, of course, you are also traveling to North Carolina, as you mentioned, to that game. I guess, how is it going to try to approach the season, and especially against a pretty tough team in a pretty tough conference? I know that the A10 conference is a pretty tough one. Of course, I've seen a couple of games in person, especially, of course, you actually play Dayton in that A10 conference. For anyone out there who have no idea how tough that A10 conference is, tell us, how tough is it?
Oh, it's a really tough conference. It's a different winner every year. There's never been like a reigning champ every year. It's always tough. In the preseason poll, we were up there at the top, but we were top 4, but we weren't up there. So it's going to be really tough. Every team, it's never an easy game. You never know if it's going to be an easy win. It's never a blowout. It's always a couple points anytime you play them. And this year they've got a lot of good freshmen and not many seniors left to make the team weaker. So every single game is going to be tough. We have to be ready for any game because if you have an off game and it's an automatic loss. So it's a very tough conference. A boy from Dayton just got drafted into the NBA, so that's heaps good as well.
Other than yourself, is there any other freshmen we should watch out for?
There's 5 freshmen this year, 1 redshirt. We're pretty good freshmen. We have a big player, Miranda. She's a true 5. She's huge. She's really tough at the basket, hard to guard. She's really strong. We have a guard, Riley DeRubo, really fast, so hard to block her shot, and she beats you off the dribble every time. 2 other freshmen, we've got Megan Bailey. We're all guards. We have, aside from Miranda, but we're all fast. We're all shooters. We're all weapons all across the court. So it's actually really fun. And having 5 freshmen coming in is a bit tough because most of the side is freshmen, but we've really brought the team up, and it's really tough to be able to compete with girls that are so much older than you, and they bring us up. So it's really fun. We're loving it.
And of course, on the other side of that, do you have any senior players that play in their last season this coming season?
Yes, we have a couple seniors. They're still making the decision whether they're going to have another year, as with COVID, the NCAA granted each player an extra year if they wish. But with the seniors now, they're a bit disappointed that their season's looking like this in their last year because they're not sure if they can even play like their last season because we don't know how this is going to go. But they're all killing it. They're all trying to make the most of their last year. They've been on the court. A couple of them played last game and they're loving it. They're really being like showing as the leaders in the team, and they're lifting us up. They're encouraging us, and it's really fun to be playing with them for one last time.
Well, you did mention that every player, including yourself, across the country have an extra year option because of COVID. Have you been trying to convince the seniors to play on for another year?
Yeah, definitely. Just with them, it is a bit tough because they have been here for 4 years already. They do want to move on with their lives, but they do love the game. I am the same. It's going to be so hard to leave this place. For them, it's just been their family for so long. It's been all they've known. They've grown up with these girls and our coaches. It's going to be definitely a tough goodbye. So I think they'll all be pushing for that extra year just because it's the last year to be able to be with this family. And we are a family. We're all really close, which makes it so much easier to live away from my family because they're all my sisters. And the coaches are just so cool. It's so nice to have a team like this. So I think it's going to be really tough for them to say goodbye. So I think if they get the opportunity, they'll definitely take that extra year.
And I guess talking about coaches, tell us a bit about your coaching staff.
Oh, they're amazing. So we have an all-women coaching staff, which I love. Our head coach, Stephanie Gailey, she's on the court, she's a beast. You definitely have to play hard for her. She expects the most from you, but off the court, she's so much fun. And it's the same for every coach. Off the court, they're like your best friends, but on the court, they expect the most from you. They're going to push you to be the best that you can be, and they're getting the best out of all of us. It's awesome. We have a couple international coaches. We have a Barbados and a Fiji, and that's really cool to have them because they understand what it's like to live away from home and be away from family. But they're just they're just like your fun aunties. Like, they're the coolest people ever, and I trust them with all my heart. And they're the main reason that I chose to go to Fordham, just because they're amazing coaches. They'll push us to wins, and they're going to make me the best I can be, which is what I came for.
You mentioned that it's an all-female coaching staff, which is very unusual over there. And I guess anywhere to have an all-female coaching staff. What have you learned, and why do you think it's important to have, I guess, especially to have a lot of females coaching?
Just the passion they have for the game, and they all went to incredible universities. We have a South Carolina coach, we had a coach from Villanova, a coach from Colgate. They've all come from really rich backgrounds, and just like so they can share their experience of what their college was like. And I love my male coaches, but like sometimes I don't understand what it's like for women's basketball and like the difficulties we have and how it's different from males basketball. So they've had all the experience of college and like how it feels to be a woman in college basketball. So I think like they have like what they liked about their college experience, what they hated, like what they wish they had, and they've put it exactly into our program, which is why I love our program so much. They put all their experience into it, and they're all amazing.
Now let's talk a bit about your basketball journey. Where did it all start, and why did you choose it?
I only started at the age of 11, which was a bit late compared to everyone else who had the basketball in their hand by 4 years old. I moved to New South Wales and I didn't really know anyone, so Mum thought it would be best to put me in a program for basketball just to make a couple friends. So I started in a local comp. I lived in a small town, so there wasn't much else to do, so I stuck with it. I played reps, and then with that, I got noticed by a couple coaches just playing locally, and then they brought me to the next levels. They brought me to tryouts, which got me to nationals, and then nationals brought me to bigger stages, and then I was able to be seen by colleges in America, which is what I wanted. And then they started reaching out to me. So when I started, it definitely wasn't my ambition to go any further than just to make friends. But as I got older and as it got bigger, I just learned to love it. And every level I got to, I fell more in love, and you just get so much experience out of it. And I've made like so many lifelong friends and traveled everywhere for it. And it's unreal. I'm so glad I picked up that ball.
And do you have any basketball highlights, considering you mentioned about, I guess, being selected to a couple of state teams?
A highlight I have is I went to a school nationals, which was in Darwin. We got the gold medal, which is amazing, but my dad lives in Darwin and I hadn't seen him for a couple of years. So he'd never seen me play basketball. So my last year of high school, I played at that nationals. My dad was able to watch me and we got the gold medal. And it was probably the best experience of my life. And I loved my team. And I was playing where I was born. So like it was just perfect for me. I couldn't have asked for anything more. And will always stick with me.
What does the sport of basketball mean to you now, especially being there at Fordham?
I wouldn't be here if that was my basketball. I'm getting a top quality education with my basketball. It's allowed me to travel so much. Just from here, I'll be traveling all across America. It's brought me all across Australia. It's giving me lifelong friends. It's giving me experience. At the end, I can't wait for my life after program. I feel like I've gained so much from this program so far. And I can't even imagine where I'd be without basketball. I'd probably still be in that small town where I used to live and go to school and wouldn't be doing much with my life. So I would literally be lost without basketball. It's given me so much experience and really just broadened my horizons of where I can go in life.
Let's talk a bit about, we mentioned about, I guess, how important Fordham has been to you. you might as well tell us who your local basketball association is and back here in Australia and how important they've been throughout your basketball journey to where you are now, of course, now in New York.
Yeah, so I started as a Bathurst gold miner back in under 12s. My coaches, the owners of the stadium back then, were the Masters. Their stepson, Kieran Purvis, he was my coach in under 12s, and from there he became like my brother. He was my coach every year after that. He used to train me individually on the weekends in the mornings. I used to wake up at 6 a.m. every morning so he could bring me up, because living in a small town, there wasn't many coaches. There wasn't much I could do with myself. So he really brought me up to the level of all my competitors in Sydney who had the top quality coaches, who had the best facilities, who were training every day. So he brought me up to their standard. He gave me so much experience, so much knowledge. And without them, I could not be here. Without that, they brought me so many links to coaches in Sydney. They brought me to tryouts. They brought me new opportunities. And no, I owe everything to them. They're amazing.
Now, you mentioned right at the start what position you played on the court. If you had a preferred position where you like to convince your coaches to put you, where would that be?
No, I think I'm in the perfect position because I'm not a guard who brings up the ball. I think that would be the worst, to have the pressure of having to bring up the ball by yourself. And also being a big, I don't like being a big. I don't like posting up. I don't like being bodied by 6-foot girls. So my position's perfect. I just have to run down the court. I'm on the perimeter on the 3-point line. I'm with girls that are my build, my height, nothing bigger, nothing much smaller. So I don't think I could ask for anything more than my position. It's perfect.
Do you have any future ambitions in the sport of basketball post-college?
Well, our coach has a lot of connections with the European Basketball League, and that's definitely in my sights, just because I love traveling. I love seeing the world, and playing anywhere in Europe, I think, would be such an experience and so much fun, and just to be able to see the world and see where basketball can take me. So that's definitely in my views.
You mentioned about, of course, going out of Europe. Is there any possibility for you to maybe return home to play down here for maybe your local team, or even for the Sydney Flames in WNBL?
That is definitely a possibility. Living here has brought my appreciation for Australia up a lot more. I love Australia. America definitely doesn't measure to back home. But yes, I would love to play back at home, just to bring everything I've learned over here and bring it back home, and show all my coaches that used to coach when I was little how much I've developed and how much I've grown up. And that would be really cool to face some old opponents. So yeah, that definitely is an option too.
What would be your advice to our listeners back here in Australia that should get involved in basketball?
I think if you have the opportunity, you should do it. It's literally brought me so much. I'm living in New York City right now. I'm getting a free education. I'm doing what I love. I'm with girls that I love. The opportunities are literally endless, and there's no way that I would be living in New York City for free right now if it wasn't for basketball. So it really you meet so many people, you travel the world, and it's amazing. And you're getting fit and healthy while you do it. So there's nothing more that could come from it. So you should definitely do it if you have the opportunity.
And very similar question, but this time, I guess, for everyone that should support the team in the 2021 season.
You can watch us on ESPN Plus. We have a lot of social media that gets updated regularly. Our game this weekend our time hasn't been determined yet, but most of our games will be broadcasted on live TV, which is really cool. They're trying to get women's basketball broadcasted across the world a lot more and get women's basketball out there. So they're broadcasting a lot more games. So literally, if it's not even Fordham basketball, that's more advice to watch any basketball game, watch what the game's like, because it's definitely a different game over to Australia. Different rules, different playing types. So definitely you get a lot more experience just watching the game rather than playing it. So yeah.
Now let's finish up with a couple of lighthearted questions about your teammates. Firstly, who had the most embarrassing moment on the court so far, and what was it?
We are a bit of a funny team. Most of it, the week we got our new shoes, they're a bit too grippy for us. So every time, we couldn't stay on our feet. We were all tripping over each other on the floor most of the time. So that was probably the highlight of our week, is that because we get new shoes pretty regularly, but it takes us a while to break them in. So that first week we can't stay on our feet, so that's always the best.
Who's the comedian in the team?
There's probably definitely a couple. Our captain, Anna DeWolf, she's actually my roommate. She is a bit of a jokester. She scares you all the time. She's always in your space. She's funny. She's definitely probably the jokester in the team.
Now, any good singers and dancers in the team? Considering I know this social media thing called TikTok.
Yes, so we all love our TikToks. None of us are good at singing or dancing, but we definitely do it. We have an aux cord in the locker room and we get pumped up before every game. Country is very big over here, so I've learned to love country, which I normally hated before I came over here, and we are singing country music, prepping ourselves for our games, and yeah, we all know our TikTok dances, so very cultured team.
What's interesting about country music over in New York? I never knew country music was liked over there in New York. Now, I have to ask this one. Any players in the team that are just plainly forgetful?
Yes, we have heard a couple of stories where girls have turned up to games without their shoes for away games. One girl had to get a pair of shoes bought for her because she noticed a couple hours before the game that she had no shoes and they had nothing to give her. So the coaches had to run to the supermarket and quickly buy her a pair of shoes. So that's definitely something that I make sure is the first thing I put in my bag because I do not want that to be me because you will never forget it. So yes, we've had a couple girls bring 2 left shoes or just bring no shoes at all. So definitely.
Now, do you have a pre-game superstition or ritual?
Pre-game, normally I'm a very outgoing person, but pre-game I like to keep quiet, keep in with myself. I like to put earphones in and I just like to focus, like remain quiet. I don't like to sleep because I feel like my body like goes to sleep and I won't be able to wake up without a cold shower. So probably napping. I never like to nap before my games because that's just a thing that I don't think I'll be able to wake up properly before the game. So I've never done that.
Have any of your teammates tried to put the Australian accent on, and how's that traveling?
Every single day, they hear me say something that's slightly different to their accent, and they're mocking it in 1 second. I can't say anything without them mocking me. They think my language is so funny. They don't understand me half the time. And like, there's so many things that, like, when I say like thongs, they think I mean underwear. Like, there's just like, I'll be like, should I bring a jumper? Is it cold outside? And they're like, jumper? What's a jumper? Do you mean a sweater? And I'm literally trying to learn every day because I can't go one sentence without being mocked. It's hard, but they say that they love it. So.
Oh, now have you tried to convince any of your teammates to come down to Australia and visit you in New South Wales?
Well, we actually have a foreign tour that's supposed to be in Australia, which hopefully doesn't get shut down because of COVID, but they all want to visit Australia so much. The only thing that turns them off is the spiders and the snakes. They don't think they could handle that. But they all really want to come, and they're all obsessed with kangaroos. They love the idea of a kangaroo, and they ask me all the time if I've ever seen one, and they can't believe it when I say that I see them every single day because I live in the country, but they're definitely blown away by that. But when they see the spiders and the snakes, they just like, it's a no. It's a big no from them because their spiders all are over here and we have our huntsmen and all that, and they're like, no, no way. But yeah, they all want to see Australia. I hope they get the chance.
Now, do they think that kangaroos are pets?
I did tell them that I did have a pet kangaroo when I brought it to school. I kept that for like a week, and then I found out they were just like telling all their friends that this Australian on their team has a pet kangaroo, and I was like, oh, you need to stop. I was kidding. But yeah, they just have no idea, and they have no idea about any of our animals, or they don't know our capital, they don't know our currency, they literally know nothing about us. They think we have a president. So I really want to learn some things about Australia. It'd be lovely.
Oh, I guess they're going to get scared their lives then when they come over here. Oh, that's funny. Now, have you tried the American accent yourself?
It's really hard because there's so many different accents. There's like Southern accents, there's Northern accents. I do try my best. I've taught myself to say ketchup instead of tomato sauce. I've
Uh-huh.
learned when you say lemonade, you don't get the lemonade that you'd get in Australia. You get
Nope.
some flat lemon thing. So I
Yes.
definitely had to learn a couple things so I'm understood, but I'm not very good at it at all. I'm still trying to learn.
Now, of course, being in New York City, or quite well, nearby New York City, I guess, have you been to most of the tourist attractions in New York?
Um, I've been to the World Trade Center a couple times. That was amazing.
Yes.
Actually, I've been to quite a lot just because the train station's right outside and it's like 20 minutes and you're in the city. And we go to Central Park just to like relax or do homework. On my visit, when I was choosing which university, they took me to all the attractions. And that was when New York City was still kind of open. It was pre-COVID. And I got to see a lot of it. And it just never gets old. It's unreal. I would do it every day if I could. I love it.
Of course, two final ones before I let you go. Now, of course, being in New York City, have you been to Madison Square Garden?
No, I haven't, not yet, but it's definitely on my bucket list.
Describe your team as many words as you like.
um, Loud, outgoing, definitely tough, amazing, um, probably want to be TikTok famous. We have a lot of TikTokers that will probably get famous one day, just not quite yet. But just yeah, amazing sisters. I love them all so much. I wouldn't trade them for the world.
Well, Matilda, thank you so much for giving up your time to join us. It's awesome having you on the show. From all of us here at Smash FM, want to wish you and your teammates all the best for the very tough A10 conference season that starts in about 3 weeks' time. And let's hope you can start off with a win over your fellow Australians in Davison in week 1 there in North Carolina.
Yes, fingers crossed. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. And that's Matilda Flood joining us there from the Fordham women's basketball team in New York City. Of course, if you want to support them throughout the 2021 A10 conference, look to the website there, of course, and follow them on the socials. There's more on the Smash Sports Show right after this. Don't go away here on the Wednesday edition.